The biggest enemy any animator has is poor time management. Fortunately, Anime Studio Pro gives you some nice tools to go ahead and make sure that you use your time efficiently, specifically the style palette. When you first look at it, it looks like just a color picker for your shapes. And at its most basic level, that's absolutely correct. However, the style palette allows you to create some very sophisticated effects that not only is it important you can make them, even more important is that you can reuse them and save them across your characters. So if you're creating a specific look for a monster that has some shading and some fuzziness with certain areas, you can guarantee consistency across the shape without having to recreate that color with those effects over and over again. And if you import that character into another document to continue the animation, the styles follow with it. Really important stuff. Well, let's draw a basic shape here. I'll grab a star, and I'm holding the Option Alt key, and I'll click in the middle so I draw from the center. With this highlighted right here, you would think we should be able to go in and change colors. And that's not the case. If you come from Adobe Illustrator, you probably think the program's broken. But what needs to happen is that you come over to the Fill palette, use the Select Shape tool, and select the object that way. With the object selected, then the fill parameters and the stroke parameters, even the ability to turn them on or off, appear and disappear. If I click a swatch down on the swatch palette, Anime Studio Pro assumes that you're changing the fill color and not the stroke color. That's because fill colors change much more frequently than stroke do. However, if you want to change the stroke color, you can go ahead and click on the color sampler and then choose a stroke that or stroke color you would like it to go to and choose OK. Now you'll notice, let me pop that open, we do have the ability to change the alpha, which is the transparency of the color if we want to. So while the color is the same, what we're doing is increasing how much you can see through it. So for some overlapping effects, know that that's in there. Something I want to call your attention to with the swatch palette is, although we have this basic swatch palette that always opens, there are many other options. There's some presets in here for some color harmonies you can work with. But more importantly is the fact that you can actually import images. And there's an option to bring in a custom image. So if we look at some of the presets in here like lake, with the star selected right now, if I click any of the colors in here, it will automatically update the fill to that color. This is great if you're working with some imported content from Adobe Photoshop or Corel Photo Paint, something like that, or any photo you might bring in as a JPEG. It ensures color consistency between, say, a background element and your foreground colors if that's important for your scene. We do have the brushes palette right here. We've looked at that in another movie, so I won't cover that in detail right here. I'll choose cancel. And we've got something here called effects. And I want to show this to you because the effects don't necessarily preview consistently when you work with them. That's just how anime works. For example, if we go to our very first effect, which is shaded, we'll notice that on the interface in the modal dialog box that pops up, we have harmony. We can change the light angle right here, and we see it update dynamically right in front of us as we work with it. I'll choose OK. And if we come up to the File menu here and do a preview render, well, then it looks just the way we would expect it to. However, when we come down to some other options, for example, Soft Edge, we again get the modal dialog box that pops up. But you'll notice that, well, let me go ahead and cancel out of this. I want to make sure that's still selected. I'll reopen this dialog box. I'll leave it at the default 8. I'll click off this, and we don't see any difference. That is known as a render time effect, and we won't see the effects of that soft edge until we go ahead and do a preview render. So when I come down and do that, now we're starting to see that soft edge, and of course you'll notice that it is doing that to the fill and not the stroke. Let me go ahead and show another little hidden feature of copying styles back and forth. That's very nice. I'll go ahead and draw some additional shapes. We'll choose a square shape, and let's go to a circle. Now I'm going to come over and select the Select Shape tool and highlight the circle and come down to the Reset button right here. Now, there's several things that we can do. If I wanted to copy this star color, and let's go ahead and highlight this and actually apply an effect we can see, like the shaded, I can say copy. Then I can highlight the circle and choose Paste. And that same effect gets applied that way. If you want to try another method, there's a great way to do that. If I highlight this, and then we come over and use the eyedropper tool under the Layers tools on the left-hand side, I can go ahead and select another object on the scene, click, and you'll notice now when I come back to the layer shape that it has imported this style into this shape. But there's another way you can use this particular tool, and that is if we want to say maybe apply this style to this shape right here. I can highlight this. We can choose the eyedropper again, but this time I'll hold down the modification key of the Option or Alt, depending on the keyboard you're on. With that held down, whatever object you click on will inherit the properties of the highlighted object when you hold down that modifier key and update accordingly.